Hello friends, and welcome to Gardening with Creekside. It is a very chilly day here in North Carolina. I think everybody is like half frozen. So not doing a lot much in the garden right now just because it is cold. And so I went to social media yesterday and I asked for your questions. I put a story on Instagram, I put a post on the community page of our YouTube channel, and I said, ask me anything. And it was so fun to see what you were asking. So nothing really is off limits. So we're gonna go through, and it's gonna be kind of a rapid fire because there's tons of questions. So I'm basically gonna answer the question and then move on. It was also fun, I would say, to see the difference between the YouTube questions and the Instagram questions because they had a different feel for them. We're going to start with Instagram at first, and then we are going to move over to YouTube. All right, so here we go. European Oasis Journal asked me, this week you said you don't cut back your carex grass. I have a red rooster carex. Should I cut it or no? So basically with your carexes, you leave them all winter. I personally don't prune my feather falls and my blue zingers. Your red rooster, if you want to prune it back, you can do that in late winter, early spring before you start to see some new growth come. Give it a little trim, and then there you go. Katrina 6654 said, what is your favorite place to visit and your favorite color? So without a doubt, my favorite place to visit would be the mountains of North Carolina. I went to school at Appalachian State University, was there for 4 years, absolutely loved it. If you forced me to move somewhere else, I would go to the mountains of North Carolina. It is peaceful, it is beautiful, it is serene, and I absolutely adore that. My favorite color, oh my gosh, that is a terrible question because it's like asking me who is my favorite child. I love colors. If you can't tell from the way that I dress and the things that I do, I would say probably if you looked at my closet, I would have more blues and pinks. So there you go. I would say blue or pink, and all the shades, please. Yes, thank you very much. Nature Girl 7777 says, I've been watching your account, Jim Putnam's too, for any updates from the historic storm. So we just had, this week. So today, this is Thursday that I'm filming this. Earlier in the week, that big snowstorm came through the south, and like crazy places that had never gotten snow in like almost 100 years got tons of snow. Yeah. Gaston County, where we live in North Carolina, was in a snow hole. We didn't get a drop. I mean, there was like a little flurry that you saw. Nothing stuck. Nothing happened. In Gastonia, which is, 20 minutes away, it's our main city closest to us. They got snow and ice. We got zero. Zilch. That's why you didn't hear anything. I got nothing. We're still waiting on for a good storm. 8 inches for me would be like perfect because it covers everything. It's here for a little bit and then it's gone. So that's why you didn't hear anything, because nothing happened. Jan CCSU says, I have a small gem magnolia tree that was planted 3 years ago. When should I prune it? If you don't need to prune it, don't prune it. If you feel like you need to prune it, I would say do that in late winter, early spring. For me, that's kind of my go-to time to do that. You want to prune it before you go into your growing season, right? Think of it like a bear coming out of hibernation. You're letting the plant hibernate, and then as you're going into that growing season, then you can prune it. But if you don't need to, don't. It should be fine, but if you need to, there you go. Disney Mom, I feel your pain, sister. She says, my plants look dead. Are they? North Carolina Zone 8A. It's all going to depend on the plant, sister. So it depends on, like my azaleas look terrible right now. They're not dead. They're in shock. My rhododendrons, because it's so cold, they are all shriveled up. They're not dead. It is cold, and they're shriveling up, and they're trying to protect themselves. Now, if you have something that's like super on the borderline for you, as far as like heat tolerance, then it could be dead. But the good thing about this cold, that's what I was talking to Jerry, is we've had no wind. It has been cold, but we haven't had those driving cold winds that we had in like Christmas of 2022, I think it was. We lost a lot of plants of that because those cold, dry winds for a long sustained amount of time. This is just cold. So without knowing what plants you're talking about, it's kind of hard for me to answer that, but just leave them alone. Don't do anything to them. Just leave them, wait and see. If they're dead, you're gonna know they're dead. But if they just are in shock, maybe they lose some leaves and they flush back out, then you're good. So Don't touch. Just be patient and wait. So Deb says, should I cover my almost 2-year-old hydrangeas on these really cold days and nights? Nope. They're dormant. They're fine. They're very cold tolerant. Leave them alone. They're tough. I have not covered anything. Everything is fine. The only time you want to cover your hydrangeas is like in that springtime when we've had those consistently warm temperatures. Your plants are waking up. You've got new foliage on there. You've got buds popping up, right? And then you get that really bad cold snap. That's when you want to cover them. If the plants are dormant, leave them alone. I'm standing here, signature garden behind me, shrub lot in front of me. I've got hundreds of hydrangeas here, butterfly bushes, all sorts of things. Roses of Sharon, roses, abelias. Not one plant is covered, and they will be just fine. Okay, so CM Parker says, when can we start planting again? Zone 8 and annuals, shrubs, etc. Again, it just is going to depend. It's going to depend on your climate. I can't really tell you as far as a calendar time. Shrubs, if you want to, once we get out of this cold and your ground loosens up a little bit, like I know we're supposed to be in like the 50s and the 60s in like a couple of days. You absolutely could plant some of those cold weather perennials. You could plant your hydrangeas, your hostas, those kinds of things. It all depends on the plant. If they're definitely really cold hardy, so you're a zone 8, if that plant is cold hardy to a zone 6, go ahead and plant it. It's fine. Do we want to be planting basil and tomatoes and coleus right now? No. You gotta wait till after your last frost date. So it's all gonna depend on the plant, but just wait. This is that typical time of year, mid-January to mid-February, where we kind of slow down a little bit. We're actually having a real winter here, which I love because I love having all the 4 seasons here in North Carolina, but when it comes to mid-February, into February, I'm gonna be wanting some warmer temperatures, but right now I'm loving it. It's a season of rest for me, so there you go. Just wait, it's okay. Let's see, moving on to the next ones. How to trim a hydrangea tree. I think we've got some videos on that. It would be just like a rose tree, right? We did a rose standard just the other day. I'll link that video. Basically, you're doing the exact same thing. You're cutting it back by a third, a fourth. There you go. So I'll link that. And I know we've done other videos on how to trim a hydrangea tree. Just forget that it's a tree. Think of it as a hydrangea up top. Cut it back by 1/3 if you want to keep it that size. If you want to make it smaller, cut it back by a half. There you go. Explain the frost cloths, when to use and when to take off. That is from Tracy. So kind of touched on that a little bit. Right now I'm not using them at all in my gardens. We're not using them at all. The only time we do is that spring when we've started to warm up. We've had those times. If it's a frost cloth, that's why we use cloth, not plastic, and you're going to have a couple of days of really cold, you can leave them on for days because the cloth is breathable, right? So that plant can still breathe, get that air through there, it's totally fine. But if you want to, if it's just going to be for a night, you want to put it on before, mid-afternoon. Make sure you weigh it down because a lot of times the cold also brings a lot of wind. And so you want to make sure it stays on there. Clothespins are a great way to attach them. And then the next day, once it warms up, just go ahead and take them off. We've also got another video on that. I've done just about a video on everything. Katie says, when do we start caladium corms indoors for next season? So you got to kind of time it. So caladiums cannot go outside and survive until your nighttime temperatures are 65 degrees or warmer. Totally going to depend on where you are. So this question, again, is going to be very different. So you're just going to have to do a little bit of math. So think about when's your last frost date. So have them somewhere around that or even 2 weeks beyond that last frost date, right? Because it takes some time to get past into those 65-degree nights. Typically, corms are tricky to start. Now, if you're starting them inside, then that's a little bit easier. I would definitely have a heat mat because you want to keep those things hot. They love it hot. Crank up the heat, maybe put a dome on them, maybe put some plastic wrap on them. You're going to water them in, and then you're not going to water them again until you start to see the little sprouts. It could be a month. It could be 6 weeks. It just depends on how hot you can keep it for that consistent amount of time. And if you do water them, make sure it is nice warm water, not cold water, because that will set them back. On average, I would give myself absolutely 8 weeks. So think about that. And do the math according to like your last frost date. Then you've got that 2 weeks beyond the frost date at least. And then, so that's a total of 8 weeks. Hope that makes sense. Let's see. Lily's mom says, how close should I plant roses along a white picket fence to create a hedge peeking through? I follow David Austin's recommendations. If you want them really close to one another, then you could go to as close as like 3 feet. It also is going to depend on the size of the rose. Are they more columnar and upright, or are they more wide? So basically what you can do is take the plant's width, let's say it's 4 feet, okay? And if you want these plants to touch each other, then you're gonna take half of that, so half of 4 is 2. So I would plant those shrubs, like if you go on center, then, and you really want them to touch one another, then I would go about like 3 feet from center to center. If that makes any sense. That way you're really kind of coming together. So you think about if this plant goes over 2 feet and that plant goes over 2 feet, but I want them to really form a tight hedge, then go a little bit less than that, so that would be 3 feet. Hopefully that made sense. I think I just maybe confused you more than than I helped. This Texas Gardening says, do you start seeds? I love seed starting. I am one of those people that falls into the category of this time of year. I have great plans for seeds, and I get the grow lights, and I get my heat mats, and I get them all set up, and I have great dreams and aspirations, and I get them going, and they sprout, and I'm doing great, and then life gets crazy, and I forget about them for like a week, and then I go up there, and either they're all burned up, I forgot to water them. It is just typically a hot mess for me. I'm just being honest. So this year I'm going to do a lot of cut flowers, zinnias, cosmos, sunflowers, those kinds of things directly from seed. But I'm going to start them outside. I'm just going to direct sow them. I'm not going to put them, because I've just that is just not my gig. That's just not who I am. Can I do it? Absolutely, I can do it. And it is fun, and it's fun to dream. But I'm just facing reality. I'm in a season in my life right now where I just don't have the time and the focus and the mental ability to do that. So I'm going to put all of my seeds outside once it's warm enough, and I know it's going to delay my season, and that's okay. So I do love some good seeds though, let me tell you. Yeah, lots of fun. And then Lornal Pope. She says, we know your parents are your neighbors, but do Jerry's parents also live nearby? So yes, my parents are just right beside of us. We're country neighbors. So we're close enough that we can walk to each other, but we're far enough away that we can't see each other, which is great. It's a great balance. Jerry's parents live in a nearby town, yes. So Jerry's mom actually passed away in spring of 2020. So she's been gone with the Lord for about, almost going on 5 years now. But his dad is, we're still very close with him. He lives, like I said, just a couple of towns away, maybe like 30-minute drive from here. We go to church together, that kind of stuff. So yes, and then his sister and his brother live here as well. So yeah, all of our family is right here together. We were both raised in Gaston County, so this is definitely home for us, and lots of ties to this area. Let's see. Okay, she also asked, where do you get your energy from? I would say that is genetics. If you met my mama, if you've seen Mimi on the videos, Mimi, I say, like, if you look at people and how they operate from like a 0 being like comatose and 10 being like, woo, Mimi typically operates at like a level 9 or 10. Like, she goes. I like to hover around a 7. I can get to a 9, but I like to hover around 7. So I would definitely say it is genetics. And yeah, I mean, we just go. And Jerry and I we work really, really well together. We actually like being together. We enjoy being together. We're a great balance of one another. He is like the big dreamer. I tend to be more of the detail person. And so we really enjoy working together and coming up with plans and ideas. And we like doing projects. We like dreaming of a project, planning the project, implementing the project, and seeing the project at completion. It's just fun for us. So, just genetics and the Lord, I guess. And then Girl, you got some questions today. I love it. Would you ever do a house tour? Short answer, no. And then my reason behind this, because we've been asked a lot if we would ever do house tours. And while I love you and you are amazing people, I do think there is a balance between letting you know about personal information. You know our family, you know our kids, you know where we live. I mean, it's not hard to find my address, right? Because it's the nursery and here we are. But knowing personal information and knowing intimate information are two different things. And so our house is our safe place. That is a very intimate place for us. And while I love and adore you, honestly, I'm not letting you into my intimate space until I know you, right? So once I personally know you, then I have an open door policy, and we love having people over. I'm very, love to have folks over. Love hosting things, but it's also a safety issue, right? Because we have 110,000 subscribers. We're on here on YouTube. Literally the entire world could find us, and I don't want to open my house up to tell you, oh, this is my bedroom, this is my children's bedroom, this is the bathroom. So there is a safety issue with that as well. So I love you, but no. I will take you all around the outside of the house, but I'm not taking you inside. And one more question from her. Do any of the kids want to work towards taking on the business? So our kids are 20, 17, and soon to be 15. The only one that's really specifically showing interest is Emily, who's 20. She actually changed her major from education to business management. So she is thinking on the business side of Creekside. Jackson, of course, the almost 15-year-old, loves the equipment. In fact, I can hear him. He's on, I think, the excavator right now. He might do it, but he may not. And so we've never put pressure on our kids that you have to take over the business. This was our dream, mine and Jerry's. This was not our kids' dream. And so I don't want to put that pressure on them. If they want to join the business when they get older, that is amazing and that's great. But right now, yeah, Emily's kind of the only one showing from the business side of it. I had posted a picture of the temperature. It was 22 degrees, and then Fitzy Rob says, is that weather in Fahrenheit or Celsius? We're in America, so yes, that was Fahrenheit. Wait for it says, are the plants that we get from the online store suitable to plant in the landscape? Absolutely, yeah. So all of your annuals are going to be in grande size containers, your perennials are going to be in quarts, and your shrubs are going to be in quarts. So they are absolutely, yeah, let's go for it. So we will ship you those plants when it is suitable for your growing zone. So yeah, you can do it. Wendy Metz says, what size auger is needed for planting daffodil bulbs? So I would say anywhere, if you're going to plant a single bulb, you could do a 3-inch, right? So I mean, that would do a bulb. If you want to have a little bit bigger, it all depends on the size of the bulb. I know some daffodils are smaller than others, bigger than others. So a 5-inch is great for me personally. I don't do less than a 5-inch. Jackson's walking, so the alarm's going off. And so I would do a 5-inch. This year we did all of our bulbs planted in a group, so I would either do 4 or 5 together depending on the bulb, and so I use the 9-inch auger. So it really depends on what the look is you're going for and the scheme. So it could be a 3, a 5, 7, 9. It really just depends on what you want to do. So the world is your oyster, my friend. M3GO, will my August Beauty gardenias and azaleas survive? We got over a foot of snow, zone 9A. They should be just fine because I have the same azaleas and gardenias that you do. I'm a zone 8A. It is cold. Snow actually acts as an insulator, and so that's actually a good thing because it insulates the plants. So you should be fine. Just like I gave the other person some recommendations, just leave them alone. Wait till spring, see what they do, and at that point you can decide, do we need to prune off some burnt growth, or did something die? So just wait. But they should be just fine. You should be good to go. The Guava Project, how to make hard clay soil more workable. And they're in Concord, North Carolina, so you're our neighbor, just maybe an hour away. What we do, right, we add compost, we add aged pine bark fines. So you can work it into the soil if you're doing a big area. If you're just planting one hole, just add a little bit of compost or a little bit of soil conditioner. So maybe like the total amount that's going back in that hole, do a fourth of it is the compost or the soil conditioner, and then the rest is your native clay. So just use a little bit and then top dress. Working that soil is a long-term project. This is why every year we lay down mulch and we lay down our compost. We're trying to work that red clay, because if you don't have the organic matter, it is awful. So it is a process, but compost and aged pine bark fines and then using mulch as your top dressing as opposed to pine needles will get that soil much more workable for you. Now we're going over to YouTube land with your questions from there. So here we go. Kathleen says, I know you mainly focus on gardening and outdoor plants, but do you have any house plants? I do, because a couple of years ago, gosh, 2 years ago, maybe it was 2 years ago. I think it was maybe 2 years ago. Jerry and I went to go visit the plant company, which is the division of Proven Winners that does all of their Leaf Joy houseplants. They're up in Virginia, not too far away from us. It was a lovely day trip. Went up there and did a video, did a tour, really got to see the whole operation. They loaded us up with houseplants and we came home. I will say, I am not the best houseplant person. I can kill a houseplant faster than anything because I either give it way too much water or I forget about it for 3 months and never give it any water. However, there are a nice little number of houseplants, mostly from the Leaf Joy collection, that I have that have survived and they are doing well. So there you go. Currently I'm doing some amaryllis because we had some fun amaryllis, one that we sold online, and then two, our friends at Color Blends sent me some amaryllises, and so I do have some amaryllis. I am not a huge houseplant person, but with the Leaf Joys, they make it so much easier because they tell you this needs bright light, a little bit of light, very dark, lots of moisture, very little moisture. So there you go. So Deborah says, love you, family, and your videos. Thanks for sharing all your knowledge with us. Is there anything you and Jerry would do different with the garden center? There's always something different, I think, that you would do. And that's why we constantly are doing projects, because we want to improve it. Sometimes I wonder if how the business is growing was it a good idea to have the garden center so close to our house? Just because, one, we're kind of limited on how big we can grow it, because personally I don't want to have, like, I love this land and I don't want to have it as a quote operational facility all the time, right? So I question that, but then that was the whole purpose of us starting the garden center here, is because the Lord blessed us with this land and we're just stewards of the land, and we knew all before we even did the garden center that we wanted to share this land with people, but we didn't know how. We didn't know how the Lord was going to do that. Here we are. And so I love that we get to share this property with people who come here and then you online. So there's always something different, right? I mean, there's infrastructure that you could put in. There's projects we can always do. We're always striving to make it a better experience for folks when they come and visit us. So I mean, like, you know, better bathroom facilities here. You know, you want to have more gardens, those kinds of things. But I think when I first read your question, that was the number one thing that popped into my brain was, should we have put the garden center here so close to our house on our personal property? But my answer is still yes. That was the right move for us to do. And so then we have Angela. She says, hey Jenny, love your videos. They have opened up a whole new world to me. Keep them coming. What is the best way to create a new flower bed? I'm getting started on a new mailbox garden at the end of my driveway and I need to kill a patch of grass. How do I do that without damaging the soil for spring? So you got a couple of options. Okay, first, you can physically remove it. So you can decide where your flower bed is going to be, and you can go in there and you can get a shovel and you can physically like dig out that grass, weeds, whatever it is, right? So you can physically remove it. Two, a ton of people, and I know there's like probably a gazillion videos on YouTube of folks who lay down cardboard and then they will put maybe like potting soil, compost or whatever on top of the cardboard where that flower bed is going to be, and that's a great natural way to kill the grass, kill the weeds without having to physically remove it and or having to spray it. So that is always a great option for you as well. That just takes a longer time. If you physically remove it, then you could, in theory, remove the soil, build it up and plant it all in one day or a very short amount of time. It's the cardboard is going to take some time, especially now that we're in the winter time. So that definitely is an option for you. And then lastly, you could spray it. You could spray it with some kind of herbicide. There's absolutely organic ones out there. It just depends on what kinds you want to do. And depending on what spray you use will determine how fast you can go back in and plant. Even the harsh ones, the one that begins with an R that people just absolutely hate, you can use that and then go back in there within a couple of days and go ahead and plant again. So it just depends on what you want to use. So basically you have physical, you can remove, you can lay down the cardboard and all that kind of stuff, or you could spray it. So those are basically your 3 options for you. Next one comes from CC. Is there a gardening design mistake you've made that you've chosen to live with rather than undo? And CC, oh my gosh, leave it to you to ask me a question that I was just like, I really had to think about. And I want to say yes. And that would be towards those beds that we created before we even had the garden center. So I'm thinking those gardens that were like closer on the wood lines, whether it's the creek wood lines at the house or up like in the chicken coop, that vicinity. So there are some things there like azaleas. They're planted so close to the woods. Sometimes they struggle because of the tree roots that come through there. But generally speaking, and I think kind of like our videos show this, and I know that you know this, is one of our most beloved friends, right? A fellow gardener, a fellow YouTuber says, life's too short to have landscape that you don't like. And so, or a plant that you don't like. And I fully embrace that. Like this, we live here, we work here. And so life is too short to constantly see a plant or a flower bed, a mistake, and be like, ugh. So I would rather just fix the mistake and then move on. So, yeah, there you go. Next one. Oh, this was a great one. Jan says, on your downtime, laughing emoji, what is your favorite thing to do other than gardening? So yeah, don't have a lot of downtime. I have a hard time sitting still because the like to-do list is constantly running through my brain. I am really trying to work very hard on turning that off and just to be and to sit. So one thing that I especially do like in the wintertime is cross stitch. I find it very relaxing at night to sit there and cross stitch. I have a project that I have been working on for forever. It's massive. So cross stitching for me is very relaxing. So I enjoy that a lot. I just like being outside, whether I could just sit. Like I could sit on either my front porch, the back patio, wherever it is. And the wintertime is a great time to do this. I just do it from inside to look out the window. It's bird watching. I adore songbirds. I have, I think I counted it up. I think I have 15 feeders on the property. So right now, Wild Birds Unlimited is getting a lot of my money because we are filling up some feeders like crazy. So I love watching birds. I have binoculars. Jerry got me a great pair of binoculars so that I could like see the birds up close. There's a great app. It's free. It's the Merlin Bird ID, where you can go step by step and figure out what the birds are based off the description and all this other stuff. It is so much fun. So those would be my 3: cross stitching, bird watching, and then just simply sitting outside and looking at the beauty around us. Next, we have Nedra. A video on the history of gardening with Creekside would be very interesting. Maybe a little bit of your story with Sweet Thing. Yes. So we actually did a history of gardening with Creekside and Creekside Nursery. We did that when we hit 10,000 subscribers. I will link that for you. You can probably also check it out. I'll have a link up here somewhere that you can click on it. So that was a hot minute ago that we did that video, because it was when we hit 10,000 and we kind of did a history of Creekside Nursery and gardening with Creekside. But like I was talking to Jerry, because this came up so many times, y'all wanted us to do this. I think it's time for a recap, because like I said, that was probably how long ago was that? I don't remember how many years ago that was. It wouldn't have been 5. It was a while ago. So at 10,000 subscribers, we're now at 110. So I think it is a time for Sweet Thing and I to do one again together. But it is a story for sure. Angelica says, was thinking of making an all-white garden room in my backyard. What are some plants you would recommend? I'm in Georgia, zone 8B, 9A, mornings shade, afternoon full sun. Great details, so now I can really help you. I would say, and I'm just going to list a ton of plants and you can figure out what you like. So Perfecto Mundo, the white azaleas. You can do the chiffon white rose of Sharon. You can do Supertunia Vista Snowdrift, Supertunia Mini Vista white. You could do the guara, not guara, Cleome, Rosa, Senorita Blanca. I'm going through the Rolodex of plants here in my brain. Of course, gardenias. Oh my gosh, gardenias would be amazing. So any of those, any kind of gardenia, right? You could do those. You can do hydrangeas. I would go probably more panicle than smooth. It just depends. So maybe like Little Lime Punch. Little Lime Punch would be a glorious one for you. Your diamond, any of your diamond euphorbias, you could do Diamond Snow, Diamond Frost, Diamond Mountain. Those would be great. Let's see, what do I have? If you can find the white Shishi Camellia, from Southern Living, definitely do that one. It's nice and petite, loves the heat, loves the sun, beautiful white flowers on that. Let's see, yeah, I'm sure that I am missing a ton of plants, but it is, yeah, that's fun. Thinking of an all-white garden is a lot of fun. What I would say is choose your annuals that will go for the longest time, your Supertunias, and then choose those shrubs. Think of winter, camellias, spring, summer, fall, and try to spread that whiteness out. Love it. Have fun with that. Casey says, where will you vacation this year? So we've been very open how much we love and adore the South Carolina beaches, particularly the area of Pawleys Island. So Pawleys Island has our heart. It is a very slow paced. It is close to Myrtle Beach, but it has nothing of the vibes of Myrtle Beach. And so typically we will get a house there and we will go. That's something that we have made an important decision for our family, that we take 1 week off and we go and we completely unplug and we are there. And so we like to go to the beach. We typically will cook everything. We never go out to eat. And so we just live in bathing suits and pajamas for the whole week. And it is absolutely glorious. No makeup in sight, let me tell you. Speed Bump, that's so cute. I love that. Speed Bump says, do you have a dream garden somewhere in the world you hope to visit someday? I don't have a specific garden, but I would love to go to England, like the countryside of England, to see those English gardens. That would be, for me, that would be a dream trip, just to go and explore and to see all those cottage gardens, both the formal gardens. It would be a lot of fun. So that would be my dream trip for sure. Oh gosh. Exuvia, I'm sorry, I know I just butchered that. I got some bulbs on clearance at Walmart last month. Chilling in fridge now with 8-week timeline, somewhere in mid-March. Should I still try planting them up in containers then? Absolutely, honey. Gardening is just one big science experiment, and so they're not going to last until next year. So absolutely throw them in containers. They may be a little bit later than what they would typically be, but yeah, absolutely. Go for it, honey. Have fun. Val says, you and your sweet mama seem to both love gardening. Who got into gardening first? Do your children also love plants, or do they help out just for your sake? In Georgia, red clay would recommend amending soil. Also, how? Just finding plants that can tough it out. Thank you, and stay warm. Yeah, I'm trying to right now. My hands are frozen. Who got into gardening first? So my daddy was a farmer growing up. My mama comes from her whole family is nothing but farmers. Jerry's parents, his mama absolutely was a huge gardener. So we tend to have this in our blood. This is just who we are. I grew up on a farm. Daddy farmed. He had hogs. He also grew the food for the hogs. So this is just what I know. But Mimi would be the first, because she's older, got into gardening after she retired from teaching. And then, yeah, it's just something that we've always done. It's in our DNA, it's in our culture as a family to be outside and to garden. My parents are still crazy active outside. They're rarely inside. And so it's just who we are, and that's all I've known. So, I guess that's why Jerry and I got married, because we're very compatible in that way. So yeah, so definitely Mimi did the gardening first, and I still think she knows way more than I do, and so that's why I love gardening with her, if I can just keep up with her. And then as far as the red clay, what I talked about earlier, compost, organic matter, aged pine bark fines. It is a process. You're just going to have to work it. It's going to take us some time. Just keep working it, and it will be great. And then Novella, sorry, it's hard to, I'd love to hear more about your transition, Jenny, from teacher to full-time nursery owner. I think we talked about that in that video. We'll hit it again, but basically I knew, and growing up, that there were two things in life that I wanted to be. I wanted to be a mama, and I wanted to be a teacher. And so when Jerry and I were dating, we were very much on that same plan, that whatever job path that we did, when we decided to have children, that I would stay home with the kids, because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be home with my babies and raise my babies. And so taught school for 4 years, got pregnant once Emily was born. I stayed home. And then, yeah, the rest is history. We talk about it in the video. We'll hit it again, but I'm still teaching, just in a very different way than what I had in my brain. You just don't know what the Lord has planned for you. And here I am talking to a camera, teaching you about plants. It's crazy. It is great. Let's see. Okay, Brian, honey, you are stretching me. I'm probably not going to answer this adequately. This is one that I'm going to have to sit on, and I'll probably come back to this, but this was a genius question. If you had the opportunity to create a perennial/shrub within the Proven Winners line, what species would you choose, and what cultivars would you choose for desirable characteristics? That is a great question. It's also a very hard question, and I don't have a great answer for you. I'm going to have to think about it. But we are in North Carolina, Zone 8A, and it's the heat and the humidity. So I would want a plant, shrub, perennial, that can handle that. Be as low maintenance as possible. It's got to be resistant to Japanese beetles. Japanese beetles cannot like it. Preferably aphids would leave it alone as well. But that can handle the heat and humidity, and that gives me year-round interest. So something, even if it's just structure in the winter, foliage, flowers, and fragrance would be great. So I'm going to challenge my friends at Spring Meadow Nursery, Judson and Megan, I'm looking at you. Come up with a plant for me. I know you are. You've got some great plants. But yeah, that's a great question, Brian. We'll come back to that when I've had time to ponder on that. Scared of Plastic Bags says, do you have any other pets? Can we have a formal introduction to your beautiful dog? Other pets. So we have chickens, which they're very spoiled chickens, but I wouldn't consider them pets. And then we have Brenna. Brenna is 3. She turned 3 in October. When we got her, we did a video, a formal introduction to her. But yeah, that's the formal introduction. I'll link that video for you. But she is 3. She loves a good stick. That's what she's doing right now. She found a stick and that's what she's chewing on. I am her person and she is my dog. So she literally wants to be attached to me 24/7. And she is a classic German Shepherd. So if you know anything about German Shepherds, that's Brenna. Yeah. Next, I thought this was a great question too. GPS Watching says, I was wondering if original YouTube content is a constant challenge or do you find it easy? Yes. Yes to both of those. When we very first started YouTube, we overthought it and we were over analyzing everything. So it was really hard because you want to try to make like the best video that you can. So it was very agonizing to make those videos and come up with those content ideas in the beginning. Now that we've been doing it for how many years? 4 years, 5 years, it would be 5 years almost. Yeah, 5 years. It's much easier now. Now we have almost too much content to come up with because we see how you react to some of the most common mundane things around here. Y'all just want to be with us and be a part of our life and be a part of what we're doing. And so you have been so supportive and so encouraging that now we literally have more content than we can film. So we do 5 videos a week. We probably have enough content to do 7. We're not going to ever do more than 5 because that is enough. And but yeah, it can be challenging. You're always trying to do the best video that you can do, and honestly, some are better than others. Some that I thought, oh my gosh, this is just like the dumbest video. Nobody's going to care about this video, and it goes crazy, and everybody loves it. Then there's those videos you're like, oh my gosh, this content is great. They're gonna eat this up. It's gonna go like have a gazillion views, and then it just bombs. So, you know, trying to figure out what's a winner and what's not can be interesting sometimes. And then Patty says, I was hoping you would build a bridge over the creek this year. You've talked about it several times. Hope it gets put in your plans for 2025. Patty, we literally were just talking about this yesterday. There are projects that we've always dreamed of doing. It kind of comes into that where you dream of these things, and creating a bridge over the creek, it would be closer to the house side so that we could easily access the nursery from the house instead of having to kind of walk around. So that is one of those dreams, but it also keeps getting pushed down the list. As a small business owner, oftentimes we're putting out fires that just erupt all of a sudden that you didn't plan on. Like Jerry was just, the well froze up at production, so he had to thaw the well. So that constantly kind of happens when you're a small business owner. But as we bring on amazing employees and add great staff, they take the brunt of certain tasks so that we can do other projects. So I would love to, and so we'll just see. Time will tell on that one. And then Vine and Branches Gardening. This is another great question. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced when starting a nursery from your home? So we started Creekside from scratch. There was no Creekside. We didn't inherit it. We started this business on our own. Challenges. One time we had 3 babies in 5 years, so we were young and we were a new family, and you know, stay-at-home mom, and so time and energy was a big thing. 2, trying to get word out about your business when you're starting from brand new, so that was a challenge, especially with us being as remote as we are. And then also 3, money, financing. People did not want to lend us money because we were a startup company. And so essentially when we first were starting Creekside, we financed it all of ourselves. And that was either like personal money, which when you have 3 babies in 5 years and you're young, you probably don't have a whole lot of money. So that's where, honestly, you know, credit cards and things. And so we would put things on credit cards. We would work really hard, pay that off, do something else. So just trying to get people to take us seriously, whether it was vendors, soil vendors, plastics, you know, for the pots and all that kind of stuff. Being taken serious was a challenge that we didn't really anticipate. So, and that's just where you just have to do your thing and just keep doing, you know, do what you say you're going to do and work, and you just have to prove yourself to these people. So that has gotten better, I will say. Dan Gardens, what's your go-to shade-loving shrubs? So my shade-loving shrubs, sunshine, Florida Sunshine Alyssum. Very similar to that is Banana Appeal Alyssum. Gorgeous, bright chartreuse evergreen. Love that plant. Of course, camellias, great. Love those. Rhododendrons, if your garden can handle it. Our climate is a little iffy on that. Let's see, boxwoods are great too. I know people don't like boxwoods. I personally love boxwoods. That is a great one. Camellias, of course, if you can get petite camellias. Some of them are larger, but I do love me some camellias. And let's see, azaleas, of course, the old-timey azaleas, love those. Let's see, if you can do certain Japanese maples, those are great, of course. And then it's not really a shrub, but like fatsias, those kinds of things. But my first go-to would be like the Florida Sunshine or the Banana Appeal. Color, evergreen, love it. And then Nana of 7 says, did you always want to garden and own a nursery, or did you have other goals / college degrees? So this was never the plan in our brains, and this is one of those things where you're obedient to what the Lord puts in front of you, and here we are. So Jerry and I both have college degrees. We're educators, and so we both have an education degree. And mine is from Appalachian State University. His is from Western Carolina University. He also has a sports management degree there. And so, like I said earlier, 2 things I always wanted to be in life, a mama and a teacher. The garden center was never the plan. And like I said, that is simply the Lord put that in front of us, and we just walked through that door, working very hard on that. And then too much. Hi, Jenny. I would like to know how you and Jerry were able to drive business to your nursery prior to your YouTube channel. Being located off the beaten path, was it mostly by word of mouth? Yes. Also, when we very first started, we didn't have the garden center here. We were at the farmers market, so we would go to farmers markets. So we got a great client base there, and then we would tell them about this. That was a huge struggle for us because nobody takes a newspaper. That's when social media was beginning to emerge. And so we began on Facebook. So we used Facebook as we would do live nursery tours. That was our main platform of getting our name out there. And then once we realized how much people enjoyed those videos on Facebook, that's when we then got into YouTube. And officially fall of 2019, but we really didn't take it seriously, like really seriously, until early of 2020. So social media was an absolute massive game changer for us because you would not know we're here any other way. And then word of mouth, absolutely, because we have got some amazing folks who will not stop talking about us, and we love that. Let's see. And I think that was the last question. So there you go. This was fun. I loved it. I do think after looking at some of your questions, especially we have some good video ideas maybe that we haven't talked about, or maybe we did that video, years ago and we need to revisit that. That would be fun. This time of year, you do have to get a little creative of what you can do because it is cold. And I know this is relative to North Carolina. There are people way colder than we are. But this is the first time we had a true winter in quite a long time for this extended amount of time. Yes, we'll get cold, but not for this length of time. So it does make videos to be a little bit challenging. But hey, we're having fun talking about plants and all sorts of other stuff. So with that being said, we so appreciate you. We obviously would not be here without you. We love all of your support, your encouragement, yes, even your critiques sometimes, because iron sharpens iron, and so we appreciate you. Hope you found this fun. And so maybe we'll do this again sometime, maybe when it's super crazy hot and we can't be out in the garden. So y'all have an amazing day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.